Hello there. Welcome to or welcome back to my channel, Snips by Kelly. I'm Kelly and it's time to hop. Yes, it's the second Friday of the month. Time for our monthly YouTube scrapbook sketch hop where 7 creators come together for their take on the same sketch. This month's sketch is by Creative Scrappers and it was chosen by Sarah Millerhouse, and she said it feels like December. So anything family, winter, or holidays. So right away I thought Snowy Wonder and Snowy Scenes would work great for this sketch. Now, the only things that I've created with this line so far is this little mini album, which is part of a little mini event that I do for my club members. And actually, you take a 6x12 piece of paper and score it up to create the pockets to create this cute little mini book. And I thought the Snowy Scenes paper collection was perfect with the penguins and the snowflakes and all of the vibrant colors. The only other thing that I've created with this collection was last month's Stamp It Up bonus kit. I created these little snow globe cards and I loved it. So I'm so excited to use this collection again tonight. Now, I've only done one other layout that was even remotely similar to this style. This is a very different style for me. So I actually took a card kit, a paper pumpkin card kit, and used a similar style. The only difference in this and the sketch that we're using tonight is the squares in the back and a couple other little elements. So when you look at the Snowy Scenes, it's this great snow globe paper. And of course, there are dies that cut out the snow globe, the base of the snow globe, some of the snowmen, the trees, the penguin, the house, all kinds of different parts and pieces that can be cut right out of the Snowy Scenes pattern paper. And I love that. It really, really helps give you so many wonderful bits. I love the traditional colors, but it also pulls in a little bit of pool party and a couple other colors that would not be considered traditional for red and green. It has, of course, a great diagonal stripe. This house paper is one of my favorite. Of course, candy canes for the holidays. I think I'm going to be able to think of something great to do using this sketch. Now, the Snowy Scenes also has an optional sticker sheet. You can get the paper pack by itself or with the sticker sheet. So, of course, the star of tonight's show is my youngest grandson of 8, Waylon James, and he is over at Grandma's having hot cocoa. My girlfriend sent me some cute little gnome mugs from Pottery Barn, and every year I always make homemade cocoa. I have a wonderful homemade cocoa recipe, and I love using that. And I loved Waylon James' excitement when he found out that he got to put his own sprinkles in his cocoa. It's the little things in life, right? So I'm thinking that we have a lot of circle options. Of course, we have the snow globes, which I think would be a great addition to the base. We have some circle choices. Spotlight on Nature has great circles in it with great elements around the outside. Also, the Everyday Details dies are a good standby that I have used and used. And so I'm thinking that this would be the great base. Either the Spotlight on Nature or the Everyday Details dies, because they have one die in each set that is just a little bit bigger than the snow globes. And when you look at the sketch, you have layered circles with also a square underneath. So I think that I could use the Spotlight on Nature, I think is what I land on, that I decide to go with for this. But again, the Everyday Details dies or any types of circles that you love. The largest one, I believe, is 3.5 inches. And so it is a larger circle. So I went ahead and just die cut out some snow globes because I'm really not sure, because of the photo being offset onto the circles, how much of the background pattern is going to show and how much I want to show. So I'm sort of like auditioning a few of these to just sort of see like which ones would actually have a cute little scene to the left or to the right once the photo was in place, because not all of the snow globe is going to show, but if just the little bits, some cute little bits of the snow globe show with a nice base underneath, I think that'll be adorable. So you can see that I have different size photos. So the upper right is a 4x4, and then I have two 3x3s, and then I have a 1/4 inch white photo mat on each of those. So obviously the 4-inch photo has a 4 1/4 by 4 1/4, and the two 3-inch photos have a 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. So now I'm just going to get my initial base arrangement and see if I like it. I've cut out some bases from the pattern paper with the die, and you can just fussy cut those out if you don't have the die. Same with the top part of the globes. They're easy enough to fussy cut out. Now I'm deciding what colors am I going to use for the Spotlight on Nature dies. So there's two dies in the Spotlight on Nature dies that are 3.5 inches. One has kind of crimped edges and the other has a little bit of a design. So I did 2 of one and 1 of the other, one in garden green, one in real red, and one in pool party. And I'm just trying to decide, do I want the colors to be alternating or do I want them to be same? And I go with same. So I go heavier on the red at the top with the red circle, heavier on the pool party in the middle with the pool party circle, and heavier on the garden green on the bottom with the garden green circle. And then I cut 4x4-inch squares out of the candy cane, the snowflake, and the stripe pattern. And I'm just again auditioning where I think they should go. And then I know on the original sketch these circles are a little bit more on top of each other and a little closer, and then the photo is more centered on top. But I do think that I want to toggle it a little bit so that I can have a little bit more of the background scene in the snow globe to show. So what I'm going to do is put a teeny tiny bit of adhesive for placement, and I'm going to get my grouping so that it will actually hold together as a group, and then I'll be able to slide it around on the base, kind of, figuring out where exactly I want it, and then I can go back in with my adhesive and make it go back in and really firm it up and make sure that I have plenty of adhesive on it when I get it exactly where I want it to be. Now it takes me a little bit to figure out my pieces. It looks like such a simple sketch, and it really is, but I'm fussing a little bit to just figure out the placement of the pieces because I really want cute little patterns to peek out from underneath the photo. I love how playful that this can be. I love Waylon's face. I created a jar full of little like white chocolate bits and dark chocolate bits and little sprinkles and mixed them all together in a jar. And then I have a little cocoa board and a little cocoa box that holds the mugs, and then it holds like different kinds of marshmallows and the homemade cocoa in the jar, and it holds all the sprinkles. And this was last winter, so he was 2, and every time he was getting ready to put the sprinkles on, he kept looking at me like I was going to say no. And then he got a big smile on his face when he saw that he got to put the sprinkles in. And then, of course, a few of them ended up in his mouth. But I love it. I love it. And I love how cute the little gnome mugs are. And it just felt festive and simple and like a holiday. So I'm going through now and I'm putting foam tape on each of the photos. I think it's going to look a lot better to have the photos popped. I have my elements all kind of, stuck together tentatively. And I think we should do a little bit of a hue in the background of each of those pieces in the same color. Since we went with the same colors, kind of like tried to group the red up at the top and group the pool party at the left, and then group the garden green at the lower right, I feel like let's do the same with the ink and just add a little bit of a hue. So we'll add a real red so that it just peeks out of the top right cluster. And then we'll add Pool Party so it peeks out of the left side, and then we'll add Garden Green so it peeks out of the top side. Now I'm rubbing off on scratch paper because the ink is rather juicy, and so I don't get too blotchy. I just want a tiny hue just to add some added interest to the white background. At this point, I'm thinking that it's going to be a straight white background, which is sort of uncharacteristic for me, but it does match the sketch. And then, of course, true to my original color, I do change it up and put a frame around the back. So I end up trimming up the base piece by a quarter inch on all sides, and then I put an espresso and a striped background, and you'll see here what I mean soon. I just keep looking at it and looking at it as I'm putting the pieces together, and I'm loving the clustering. I'm loving the potential. I feel like it's going to go somewhere good, but there's just something about the plain white edges. Now, if you love that, just, don't trim it down. Don't put a base on it. I know there are some people that think, if you're going to put additional bases underneath, that it's a waste of paper, but I really love the look. I really think it adds a lot, and I do also gut my frames constantly so that I'm saving the interior. So now I'm coming in with the Garden Green, so you can just see a little hue of the real red in the upper right, a little hue of the Pool Party in the middle, and then I'm going to move it off to the side because I think I'm going to pull in just some splatter spray that I have from my stash. It's called white gloss spray, and I'm just going to sprinkle white gloss spray all over to make it look like snow. It can get a little messy, so that's why I have my all-purpose mat, but I'm just tapping splatters so it looks like splatters of snow. It's going to be a little difficult to see on camera, but in person it's going to add some texture to the background, and I think it's going to go really well with Sarah's winter theme. Now I'm pulling out the More Than Autumn stamp and die set because I remembered that it has hot cocoa in it and all of these different sentiments that can go with hot cocoa, like nothing's better than hot cocoa. Grateful it's finally hot cocoa time. I love you more than hot cocoa. You had me at hot cocoa. This calls for hot cocoa. Hot cocoa is the best. There's so much. And so I thought it's going to be perfect for this layout, but I really love the idea of having a small subtitle, a little bit of a bigger subtitle, and then like a small subtitle, a little bit of a bigger subtitle, and then a big title. So I'm pulling out of my stash something called, oh my gosh, what's the matter with me? It's going to come to me. Oh my word. It is Resist cardstock letters that have a resist area on them and a pattern. So when you put ink over them and then you wipe off, you're wiping the ink off of the resist area, and then it will leave a wonderful pattern behind on each of those. And I love them. Irresistibles, goodness, I could not think of that for a quick second. So Irresistibles are so fun, and I have a bunch of these left in my stash, and I've been trying so hard to use up the last of all my close to my heart goodies. I really want to use them up because all of my paper crafters have these products and they've invested in them. And then when they announce the closure of Close to My Heart, of course, we all have things to use up still. But I'm just going to use them for my title and add a little bit of mini dimensionals to those. And again, I'm showing you here how we can decide what we want to say. I think probably I'm going to say love you more than hot cocoa, just because it's my little Waylon James and it's very, very fitting. So now I have those clusters that I put together. and I'm going to slide them around and sort of see where I think they fit. And then if you look at the sketch has some stars that are representing some additional icons. I do like the idea of those little icons kind of bringing those three pieces together. My pieces are obviously a little bit bigger than the original sketch, and so they're a little closer to each other. And if they're going to be that close to each other, I would maybe just like the edges of some extra icons to just touch from edge to edge a very little bit, just to connect the pieces and make it look like cohesive. So we'll see how that works out here, but I'm just going to try to get photo placement. It's not going to be the same as the sketch. They have the photos a little more up into the center of the circles so that they're covering up a little bit more of the circles. But of course, I want some of the houses to peek out. I want the snowman to peek out. I want the penguin to peek out. I'd like a little bit of the tree to peek out by the penguin, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to get that to pull that off, especially because I'll be adding some more icons. I kind of envision following the sketch and putting the large title up at the top, putting cocoa, and then hot, and then maybe stamping directly on the page, I love you more than. But cocoa isn't quite fitting, and it could overlap the houses, but I work so hard at having the houses show. I also could lift up that cluster and move it over to the right a little bit, or I could do a little bit of a play, toggling the letters up and down. This is playful, this is fun, and even though I rubbed cocoa on the Irresistibles with Espresso ink to bring in a little bit of the brown, it still has the candy cane stripe on it. So it's super playful. And I think if I toggle those letters up and down, it's going to look really, really cute. And then I can just adhere hot to the top, like it's just dangling off the top of the letters, and I can use a pretty heavy-duty adhesive on the bottom of the letters, and then I can pull off my sentiment love you more than, and I'll probably stamp that in Espresso also, but I'd like to just lay it there and see how I feel. I want it to be there for a little while I work on the journal strip. So you can see in the original sketch that they have some journal strips, and I did actually just type and print it on cardstock, and then I cut the strips apart. I have a little bit more that I said compared to the amount of journal strips that they have in the original sketch, but no problem. I'll just toggle them on the bottom. Now, obviously, not everyone's going to have Irresistibles, although if you came from close to my heart, you probably definitely do have Irresistibles, but of course, you can use, foam letters, acrylic letters, die cut letters, sticker letters, any kind of alphabet dies, anything that you have to create that your own title. Actually, in the More Than Autumn, the letters that say hot, or the little die that makes the word hot, also has about that same size of a die that says cocoa. So you could do a smaller title and you could die cut out hot cocoa instead of making cocoa really, really large. I just liked the idea of having a subtitle and a subtitle and a title of different sizes. Now I'm going to pull from the sticker sheet, and there are some trees, some penguins, there's a little snow globe with a snowman, and originally I was thinking, well, let's sort of match things up. Maybe let's do houses with the house, and the the snowman with the snowman, the trees down, or the penguin down below. And I think the tree's going to work great up there by the top photo, and then add the penguin with his little penguin friend. And then I'm not sure what I want to add to the snowman. I'm originally thinking the snow globe to match snowman to snowman, but it's a little large. And then I land on a snowflake, and I sort of try out the large one, often try out the smaller one, and I end up going with the smaller one. And the sketch shows kind of overlapping a little bit with the journaling, and I like that. So I'd kind of like to mimic that. So I put foam tape on all the icons that I just chose, and then I'm just going to work a little bit on making those fit. And here's where I'm getting bothered by the outer edge being so plain. So I actually hardly have my little clusters down. I just still barely have any adhesive on them. So I think that I can pop them up, move that pool party one over just a little bit, and that will give me enough space to trim 1/4 of an inch off all sides, and then that will bring it down to 11.5 by 11.5, and then I will put an 1/8 inch frame in espresso around that, and then the 12 by 12 stripe. And of course, I will gut the espresso cardstock, and I will gut the striped frame. I usually gut at about 1 inch, but you could even gut at 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch, both of those, because hardly any is going to show. But look at the difference that candy cane stripe makes on the edge. To me, it is all the difference in the world. And if you don't agree and you don't think that you need that color on the outer edge, just leave it be. Leave your white as a 12 by 12. It's still going to be a super cute layout. It's just my preference. I love frames, and I'm sure I overuse them. I know I overuse them, but I love the layering. I love frames on photo mats. I love frames on outer pages. I love frames within the interior of my layouts. I love overlays. I really, really, really love to layer. And so if it's not your jam, you can leave it 12 by 12, leave the white 12 by 12, but definitely if you do the framing, definitely do the gutting, and it will save lots of paper. So now I've put the green tree in place with foam tape, and I've put the snowflake in place with the foam tape with the dimensionals, and I'm struggling with the penguin because I do kind of want the tree to show, but I do end up conceding and just putting the penguin over the top of the tree. But I do feel like we need a little something something in the empty space. And so I'm going to add the other smaller tree. We have a larger tree, but I'm going to add the other smaller tree, and then kind of get that so it connects. Now I have a tree that connects the top right photo with the middle photo, and then we have a tree that connects the top right photo with the striped piece. Oh my goodness, I think my husband is downstairs snoring. I'm like, doesn't he understand I'm trying to create a masterpiece here? Hey, it's real life. I'm serious. Okay, so now I'm getting that little piece. I think the little icons in there just add so much, and connecting it adds so much. I know that in the original sketch, they are not connected, but I just like having just little teeny bits connecting it all together. I don't know why. There's just something about it. I don't know. Maybe someone who has an art background can tell me if it's a thing or if it's just a personal preference. Okay, I had to pause the video to stop the snoring. Okay, so here we go. I'm putting the journaling strips in place. I just said that I love Waylon James' little face when he discovers he gets to put his own sprinkles in. And the other journaling says, it's truly the little things in life that make your heart happy. And then the top journaling says, nothing says I love you more than hot cocoa. So I'm going to grab the espresso ink and do a dry run on scratch paper. I always do that. If you get nervous about stamping directly on the page, it really turned out beautiful. But if you get nervous, go ahead and grab a little something and stamp on it, and then just put it right on the page. It's fine. I did that for years because I was afraid to stamp directly on the page. It usually, typically, even if you make a boo-boo, you can find a way to cover it up. So I did make a few little snowflakes and stars out of Pool Party. Let's see, I made 4 small and 2 of the small large snowflakes, and then I took the little foof stamp also from Snowy Wonder. The snowflakes are from Snowy Wonder. And the little speckled stamp, background stamp, is from Snowy Wonder, and stamped a couple little spots with Pool Party, added just a couple little peppermints. So I kind of kept the Pool Party pieces over more toward the left, and then I did the peppermints up more toward the right. So I'm sort of still keeping color families, but I do realize I don't feel balanced in color. So I wanted to draw a little bit of red down to the Pool Party by cutting a couple 3/4 inch banners and dovetailing those. So now we have a little bit of red in each circle segment. And then I wanted to maybe so I grabbed the sticker from the sticker sheet and just snipped a couple little pieces off of the sticker and dovetailed those, and then used the little leftover piece of the sticker down at the bottom. And then I'm adding a little Pool Party, same thing, 2 little 3/4 inch dovetailed banners, adding those to the bottom. So now we have a little bit of Pool Party in each circle segment, a little bit of red in each circle segment, a little bit of green in each circle segment, and I feel a lot more balanced just by adding those dovetailed pieces. And guess what? I'm getting happy. Yay. So I hope you've enjoyed this sketch and this playful layout with Waylon James drinking his cocoa. I hope you'll check out all the other ladies' videos. It's so crazy how there's 7 of us and we're all so very different, and we all create with very different styles, but I love each of the ladies' creations. Of course, I'll link in the description everything that I've used here tonight and the entire playlist for the sketch hop. So make sure that you check out the entire playlist and hit like, subscribe, shoot me a comment and share, and let me know if you liked tonight's layout and if you have photos that you think would work for a sketch like this. Thanks so much, and tune in again for next time right here on Snips by Kelly.